During the summer of 2005, my Japanese grandma taught me how to make my very first origami crane. This then evolved into a hobby of mine, one that I practice every so often. I find that origami is an extraordinary way to de-stress and practice mindfulness, especially during times like these. My personal favorite is the origami lotus flower, such as these. These are my favorite because they are so simple to create, yet look so complex and beautiful. Today, I'm going to teach you how to make an origami lotus flower in just 3 simple parts. All you need is a square piece of paper and your hands. For part 1, we will focus on the base structure of the lotus flower. For part 2, we will focus on the inner petals of the lotus flower. And lastly, for part 3, we will focus on the outer petals of the lotus flower. Let's start with part 1, the base structure of the lotus flower. First, you want to fold the square piece of paper horizontally, vertically, and diagonally. Make sure you fold diagonally on both sides. According to several origami practitioners, including professional artist Robert Lang, folding and unfolding creates lines that facilitate and guide the entire process of origami. In this case, this helps mark the lines for the lotus flower. Next, we will be folding the 4 corners into the center of the paper. According to the Origami Resource Center, this is called a Blintz fold. For the final step of part 1, we will Blintz fold again. We are going to fold the new 4 corners into the center of the paper. Make sure you are folding in the same direction as the previous step. Now, moving on to part 2, the inner petals of the lotus flower. For this part, we will Blintz fold again, but this time on the other side, just like this. Now we are going to unfold these corners. This step was just to mark the lines and facilitate the upcoming steps. Next, flip over the flower. Take each of the flaps and fold it towards the outside, just like this. Make sure that all of the flaps are evenly spaced. Now, flip the paper onto the other side. For the last step of this part, you are going to pull the flaps that you previously marked towards the center of the paper. This action will result in the inner petals of the lotus flower. Fun fact, according to a PBS documentary called Between the Folds, origami in Japan was brought by monks in the 6th century. Apparently, handmade paper was a luxury item, so paper folding was strictly for ceremonial purposes. Now that we're done with part 2, let's move on to the last part, the outer petals of the lotus flower. First, flip over the flower. Pull each of the inner flaps towards the outside and adjust accordingly. Make sure you're careful though, because it's easy to rip the paper in this step. According to the online Origami Resource Center, making origami is a delicate process that requires practice and being as meticulous as possible. Congratulations, you just created a lotus flower! Now you know how to make an origami lotus flower in just 3 simple parts. The first part focused on the base structure, the second part focused on the inner petals, and the third part focused on the outer petals. According to the Japan Times, which is Japan's largest and oldest English language newspaper, the lotus flower represents something bigger than life. It represents the idea of attaining enlightenment. This is because of the lotus's ability to grow from muddy water and blossom into a beautiful flower. This reflects the idea that we as humans can overcome any difficulty and achieve enlightenment. As a result, the lotus flower is present in many fields of Japanese art, including origami. Thank you.